Welcome to Southport Whisky Club and welcome to a midweek 8 dram tasting. All the drams are from Hunter Laing. I have to say, one of my favourite independent bottlers. We've got Mr. Paul Main on to talk us through them. How are you, Paul?
Yeah, good. Victor, thanks for the invite tonight. Looking forward to this, actually.
You're looking very well there, and I like you're completely on brand.
Yeah, I'm at home, so I had to move a few bottles about to make sure I was more on brand than I would otherwise have been. So, but all whiskey's good.
Good. So talking about brands, I have a new hat.
Oh, nice.
Like that. My good friends at Glencairn gave me a hat this week, so I thought I'd show it off. Because they don't make whiskey, it doesn't compete with anybody else. Excellent. Right, we've got 8 drams. We better get started. I propose we start with the Miltonduff 13, which is a Hepburns choice, and looks like that. What do you know about this one, Paul?
Yeah, so Victor, we've got, for those that, I know some people will be familiar with the Hunter Laing brand and others won't. Almost all our products are single cask, single malts. For that range, we've got 4 different versions. We've got the Hepburns Choice that we're starting with tonight, which is always bottled at 46%. We're going to go on later to some old malt casks, which I know you as a club are very familiar with, and they are normally bottled at 50%, almost always. There's a couple of small exceptions. And then we've got a couple of bottles of first editions as well, which normally come at natural cask strength. So, we're starting at 46% with the Miltonduff 13-year-old Hepburns Choice, 276 bottles. If you've got all your drinks poured tonight, you'll notice that most of them are really light in colour. I make no apology for that. I know that sherry and red wine and port and Madeira and rum and everything's become more and more fashionable. But just about every whiskey we've got tonight is from a bourbon cask, with the exception of 1.5, to be perfectly honest. Or it might be 2.5 now that I think about it. So I have fallen back in love with first and refill bourbon casks. So I hope you enjoy this. Just going to have a wee taste and then I can tell you a bit more about it. Had this one before. A phrase I keep using with Hunter Laing, Victor, is, and I'll use it with almost every dram tonight, and it's not because it's became a cliche, it's because I honestly believe it. That's a very good version of Miltonduff. And I think when we end up with a single cask in a bottle, it doesn't matter whether it's Glengoyne or Glengarry or Clynelish or Caol Ila or anything else. I find myself drinking it and going, that's a very good version of fill in the end of the sentence with whatever's in your glass. And I know I'm biased. So we've got 46%, natural colour, no chilled filter. I've been doing this job for a couple of years, and I've been telling people for a couple of years, we don't bottle anything below 46%. And I think it might have been when I was at your winter festival in January, Victor, I realised I was wrong. Every so often we do bottle something under 46%, but it's still cask strength. So we might end up with something that's 35 or 36 or 40 years old. We're bottling it at 43 or 44 or 45%. So that's the only times that we'll bottle anything under 46%. And we've been doing that for a long number of years. So I'll speak about some of the bottling strengths later on. But what's the verdict in the Miltonduff? Who's trying it for the first time tonight? Yeah.
It's delicious. It's a very good example of Miltonduff, and I'm a big fan of bourbon casks. So tonight's right up my street.
So we buy almost all our spirit as new make. So we would have bought this 14 or 15 years ago, kept it for 13 years. I think we bottled it last year, 2022, or 2023 rather. So we buy this as new make. The range that we've got tonight is covering a few producers. So we've got this from Chivas, we've got another whiskey from Beam, we've got a couple from Diageo inevitably, I think we've got a Dewars, an Inverhouse as well. And we've got another one from Hunter Laing as an independent bottler as well, which we'll speak a bit later on. But we don't always have the provenance of the casks that we get. So some of our whiskies 13 years ago, when we were getting this as a batch from Chivas, 13 years ago, Chivas records might not be as up to date as some of them are now. So all I can tell you about this is it's a refill, but unusual. It's going to be first fill, keeping it in for 13 years. But and who's had Hepburns Choice as a range before? Hands up. Yeah, a few of you. So this is the modern version of the bottling. The colour of the disc represents the region. So for this, it's red and it's Speyside. This is actually quite an old first Hepburns Choice 13. Normally, the age of Hepburns Choices are about single figures, high single figures, maybe just creeping into double figures, and very rarely a teenager. So this is a 13-year-old is kind of quite high up there. But the price point that we get for Hepburns Choice is normally a kind of entry level for single cask. And the reality of that is, if there's any accountants or MD that can do reasonably simple arithmetic, it comes down to bottling it at 46%. No, we get 276 bottles out of this cask. If we had bottled it at natural strength, it probably would have been not ready at 13 years old, to be honest. It probably been just too hot. But by getting 276 bottles out and steady doing it at cask strength when we might only get 220 or thereby, it means the price point that we are selling it to retailers like Victor and the price that he's able to pass on to you is a good one. So I don't know if you've still got any bottles of this left, Victor.
I think there's 3 bottles of this, and that, I'm just looking on the website. They are on it, £52 a bottle, which is pretty good for a 13-year-old single cask, I would say.
Yeah, and Miltonduff, I know that we won't be the only people bottling it. No, you'll get it from others like Berry Brothers or Douglas Laing, or I think who else will do it, Gordon MacPhail, a whole range of others. And you know what I'm like at festivals, Victor. If you come and you like the Miltonduff that we've got, I always point in the direction of someone else that might have a Miltonduff and say, go and compare and contrast, because the fact that they're all single cask gives them their own kind of unique nature. But as I said, at the risk of sounding like a stuck record by the end of the night, I think that's a very good version of Miltonduff. And it makes it different from the distillery bottlings. There's not too many distillery bottlings of single malt. As most folk will know, the vast majority of this goes into Ballantine's blend. Very, very good blend. But we're bottling it at 13 years old, unusual age, and unusual strength as well for Chivas, 46.
So I think, you had a 17-year-old Hepburns Choice down at the festival in January, didn't you?
Well, listen, I'll have to check back my photos, but there has been one real exception. It might have been, I'm trying to remember what it was, but
Glen Talker, was it?
It could have been, but there was a real unusual exception this year of something that was bottled at far older age than almost any other one that we've had before.
It's not due.
Not due.
Yeah.
If MD remembered that, well done. I'm normally very good at remembering exactly what we had. Yeah, we had a Glen Talker's 12, I think. I'm just looking at it there. I don't actually have a picture of the Knock Do, strangely.
We've got someone still in stock, actually. So
there it is there. Yeah, Knock Do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's unusual. Normally something at that kind of age would put up to 50% and make as an old malt cask. So that was whatever you say about whiskey, there's always an exception to the rule. And that would be one of the exceptions. That's probably the oldest Hepburns Choice that I've seen, actually, for the Knock Do. Don't think I've got any of that left in the house. So I don't really do tasting notes, folks. If you don't mind me saying, I know some of the faces round the screens, and this is not your first rodeo. You don't need me to talk you through what a tasting note is and all the rest of it. And the reality is we all get something different. Part of the reason I don't do tasting notes is, if you're like me, if somebody says you're going to get kiwi and guava fruit, my brain tells me I'm going to get kiwi and guava fruit just because all suggestion kicks in. But I do get that kind of, it's just that typical really good refill bourbon cask where you're getting the tropical fruit flavours, really fresh, bit of floral.
Well, let's ask Nigel. He guessed we were going to do this first. Nigel, what do you make of this one?
I think it's a really good Miltonduff. Tend to go quite a few. They make excellent, starting drams and things. What I like about this one is the refill cask has given it a nice sort of musty, woody sort of note to it, which is very appropriate since it's Campbelltown Festival week. Sort of compares quite nicely to that sort of style, which you don't really find, and it's a little bit different. But yeah, absolutely agree with you. Bang on, all the usual tropical fruit notes that you get. But I do like that woody bit that you get on the palate with that one. That's banging, and it's really good value as well for the money, isn't it?
And Nigel makes a good point there about Hepburns Choice being a good starter for a tasting. Actually, there's a lots of Hepburns Choices for refill bourbon casks. I would maybe have before a meal at night. If you have a whiskey before a meal, some of the ones at 46% that I've got the
is that breakfast, Paul?
Yeah, breakfast. Yeah. No, it's not often I'll have a whiskey before a meal at night, but if I was, it would be something like this. 46%, so it's not going to be cask strength. It's light, it's refreshing, but it opens up the palate. Can almost makes you ready for something else after it, whether that be another whiskey or some food and then another whiskey or a glass of wine. But you're right to mention that, Nigel. It's the Hepburns Choice range generally are good starters off for the first whiskey of the night.
Right, so we've got 8, so let's charge on, Paul, and I'm going to go for the Dufftown 31 next. And the reason I've chosen that to do next is it is below your 46% threshold, so it's a wee bit unusual. And also we've got some big whiskies coming up, and I think it would be shame for it to get washed away if we did it later.
Yeah, so I'm going to sit back here because I've got all the whiskies tonight except 2 because the delivery didn't come from the office. So I don't have the Dufftown. So I'll tell you a wee bit about it. But it's a new release actually, and it's all of them have been Victor's choice tonight. But when we put the list out, Victor, I think it's fair to say you focused on this Dufftown really, really quickly. And I can understand why. So, we're 31 years old. Think back to what you were doing in 1991 when this was put in the cask. And after 31 years, it's one of these unusual examples for us where it's coming out below 46%. So it's still naturally presented, no colour added, and cask strength at 43.9, and only 161 bottles here. So I don't even have a sample here to nose, never mind taste. So I'm going to hand over to yourselves, let you have a wee nose and a sip, and somebody can tell me what they think of it. Dufftown is actually, it's not too common a single malt to find. No, you'll find lots of Miltonduffs getting done by various independent bottlers, but Dufftown, certainly of this age, I think is kind of quite unusual.
So I can see Steve McGinty having a good ponder over this. You're gonna give us your opinion on it, Steve?
I'd love to give my opinion, but I'm still trying to work it out. It's quite unusual.
It is
The nose straight away was like, well, that's a bit different. The nose was kind of slightly almost dusty. I'm trying to work out if it's like an aniseed kind of note in there. I mean, it's really, really interesting. I'm struggling, to be honest.
Okay.
Is that dusty, Steve, like Dunwich type
Possibly.
taste, type
Warehouse,
is it?
Yeah. You don't get it not on the palate, just on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try another Steve Laidlaw. Have you got the Dufftown 91 in your glass?
I do indeed. On the nose, I know what other Steve means. It's kind of, I think it's quite closed on the nose, but I definitely got some citrus notes as soon right up front on the palate. And that's about as far as I've got. I've only had the one sip, but yeah, it's one you could sit with for a while, definitely.
Do you want to go for a trio of Steves?
I was just about to shout you up. Come on.
I was gonna say like pencil lead, bit of like those preserved lemons, the ones you put in Moroccan cooking. So they've definitely got that citrusy thing going on, but a bit of like tea leaves or something as well.
Okay.
For
Tea
me,
leaf-
anyway.
Yeah. And we've actually got a quadruple Steve.
You hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's quite unusual. My first thought was old books and old wood varnish. I get that old smell to it. Old.
What is 31?
Mm.
Like wax polish. It's definitely got that on the finish, like it coats your tongue in like candle wax and wax polish.
It does coat your tongue. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Mm.
Some of the tastes that you're coming. So I've never tasted this one, guys. It only came out what are we in, end of May? I think it came out last month. It's one of the ones we brought a few releases out to celebrate the release of Ardnahoe a couple of weeks ago, and the labels, you'll see that on the label, Victor, just under the year from a single malt cask
Yeah,
whiskey, and to commemorate the launch of Ardnahoe single malt. But the tasting notes that you're coming up with, dusty and mahogany, are wax polish, and Steve, I think you mentioned kind of Moroccan citrus, that sweet citrus. They're the tasting notes that I really like. So I'm looking forward to getting in the office and getting a bottle of this open and trying it, actually. And also the fact that some of yous are, it's obviously a whiskey that you're having to spend some time with and think through. No, it's not a glugger or one of the kind of simple whiskies. It's obviously got a depth and a character and a complexity to it. So I'm looking forward to trying that one. Has anybody tried a Dufftown of this age or older before? Yeah, so even if you're familiar with Dufftown, people will be unfamiliar with one of this age, I would guess. So a refill bourbon cask, and that's about as much as I know because I've only read it off the label. You have actually got it in the glass.
It actually says on the label that it's the taste notes are a nose of fruit pastels, flowers, and peaches. The palate is delicately sweet with apricots and caramel and apples, and the finish is long and with lingering fruit. I think that's fair enough.
And it's one of the qualities of our single cast. I think you got it with the Miltonduff that it had didn't have the longest finish in the world, but it didn't finish very quickly either. It had a wee bit of a length to it. When you start, get into our old malt casks and our first editions, some of our first edition whiskies are just fantastic, where you have that sip, you put the glass down, and you're not picking your glass up for another 15, 20 minutes because the flavour just stays there. I don't know if this one does it at 43.9% or not, but conventionally, that's what you get from a first edition's whiskey. So they're a bit more expensive, but actually in terms of value for money, and everybody's wallet's different, I appreciate that, but you get that long taste. So you're not having 4 or 5 glasses a night. And if you are, I'm not judging you, but you don't need to have 4 or 5 glasses a night because you've got that long taste, like a right good glassy wine where it's not a kind of supermarket bottle of wine that you finish in an hour. It's a bottle of wine that can last you 3 or 4 hours. Well, most of the first edition whiskies are like that as well. And can I just put a wee competition up, Victor?
Well, then.
And there's no prize to this, but I think we need to come up with what the best collective noun is for people with the forename Stephen.
It's an unluckiness of Steve's.
A confusion.
Yeah, an excellence of Steve's. How's that?
Oh, I like that.
We've got loads of Steves and loads of Pauls.
What's the price of that, Victor, the Dufftown?
I've got on here at £360, and there's one left. So, seems reasonable. Not bad for a 31-year-old. Single malt, single cask.
Yeah, I mean, there's that adage about when you get to single cask, single malts, £10 per year is not a bad kind of measurement. So this is a wee bit over that. Probably a relatively unusual, not a rare, but kind of one of the less common distilleries that you get single cask from. In fact, you get single malt from, never mind single cask. So, yeah, so either that or you're pumping up a bigger margin, Victor, which I know you don't do. I'm only kidding you on. I've got to take my hat off to Victor because Victor's been a good customer at Laing for a number of years, and I know the price Victor gets our stuff for, and I know the price he puts it out for. So you could mark things up a lot more that some other people do, Victor, but you don't. So hat off to you.
Well, it's there for drinking and sharing. You know, it's a whiskey club, not a retail corporation. Anyway, let's have another whiskey. I think the next one for this is probably the Blair Athol 13.
Great. So another wee kind of whiskey quiz. So Blair Athol, does anyone want to guess how much of it goes to single malt from the distillery? In terms of percentage.
5%.
So that's a good starting off point. Anyone else? Nigel's put in 3% on the chat there. Anyone else want to have a wee guess?
I'd have said about 10.
10.
1.
Someone say something there?
Yeah, 1%.
Who said that?
Me.
It's Steve. So yeah, Steve's the
It's
closest.
going to be Steve, whoever it is, it's Steve.
You can guess Steve, you're fine. So 0.7% goes to single malt, and that includes the distillery single malts, and then what goes to the independent bottlers as well. So 99.3% of Blair Athol almost exclusively ends up in Bell's blend. I kind of fell out with Blair Athol a number of years ago, where I went to the distillery and had just probably the worst distillery tour I've ever had in my life. And you know what it's like if you're with experience at a distillery's poor, you kind of fall out of love with the whiskey, even if you've liked it before. And this Blair Athol here was my first Blair Athol probably for about 6 or 7 years. And I had it, and it put me back in the mood to have it. I forgot just how good a spirit it is. And I know Diageo sometimes get a bad name with some whiskey fans, but the reality is whatever distillery you go to, they know how to make good spirit. And I prefer it as a single malt. And this is a really good version, as I say again, of Blair Athol. So it's an old malt cask range, 50%, another 13-year-old. So we're just into the teenage years. Natural colour again, refill bourbon cask. We have 330 bottles of it. And again, as I said, I think it's a really good version of Blair Athol. And I know many are familiar with the old malt cask range. And Victor, for all the years I've been drinking whiskey, over 30 years, there is one bottle that people mention to me more than any other bottle, and it's the Southport Whisky Club Caol Ila bottling that you did as an old malt cask bottling. Was it 4 or 5 years ago? The amount of people that have mentioned that bottle to me is, I think there might have only been 300 bottles, and I think about 600 people have mentioned it to me. It's unbelievable how often it's been mentioned. And a couple of people actually sent me a sample of it, which was really kind of welcome with them. But the old malt cask range, I love. I've got a kind of mixed history with it. So it came out in 1998, and I first picked up on it about the year 2000, maybe 2001. And I remember at the time thinking, how do they know to bottle everything at 50%? How do they know their Blair Athol or their Auchentoshan or their Glengarry or their Pulteney is all going to work at 50%? And I thought it was a strange decision to put everything out at 50%. Then I started buying a few bottles, and sure enough, every one I bought just seemed to work. They seemed to bottle it at the right age, at the right strength, and it appealed to my palate. But put your hand up if you're old enough that you were drinking malt whiskey in 1998. Right, so about half of you's there, maybe a wee bit more. So my memory of 1998 is if you were drinking single malt, you got it out of the supermarket and it was either 40 or 43%. Springbank were doing 46% then, and hardly anybody was buying it. Or you jumped up to cask strength. So this is a brand to come out in 1998 as 50%, I think was years ahead of its time. I think in the future, when somebody writes back the history of single malt whiskey, there should be a small page or two or a chapter on old malt cask, because, as I say, it was years ahead of its time. And you fast forward now, we've just had the 25th anniversary of it at the end of 2023, and everybody loves whiskey around about 46, 48, 50%. No, it's almost, it was described in 1998 as the golden strength. That was the marketing stuff that is still written about now. But actually, I think the fashion for whiskey, especially amongst whiskey enthusiasts like yourself now, is 50%. It's a really, really good version. And just about everybody in this screen, I love it at festivals, and people come up to me and they see the old malt cask behind us and they go, oh, I got an old malt cask 8 years ago and it was a bottle of Lafroy 21, my favourite ever whiskey. Everybody's got a nice wee memory of old malt cask. So cheers.
It's been great over the years, old malt cask. It's just one of those staples. If you see it on a bar shelf and amongst everything else, and you don't know what to have, that's what I would choose. It's,
yeah. And we're going to go into one later on. So that's the one that we've got just now, the clear glass and the nice big print for people of my age that can be able to read. Our anniversary bottlings go back to what it looked like in 1998. So it's the dark green glass, the small writing that I need to get my glasses on to read. So when we do an anniversary bottling, we always like to go back to how it looked all the years ago. But either way, they still always get the 6-sided carton, so it's kind of quite distinguishable on a shelf. So good. And I don't need to say, is MD drinking Blair Athol for the first time, because I'm pretty sure just about everybody will have had a Blair Athol of some description at some point.
Let's get some opinion. Kevin, what do you make of this Blair Athol?
I mean, we actually went there in February, but we couldn't get in. So the whole place was the castle. No one let us in, sort of thing. I like it. I'm getting quite like an old banana. You know, if you left a banana too long, that kind of banoffee, that kind of taste to it. Really, I was looking at the legs on the glass. Really viscous, real sort of, you know, that sort of bite in your thing. I also thought, compared to the other two, quite an alcohol. I could feel the alcohol on this one at the back of the throat, you know, sort of thing. But very good, very delicious. If I'm right, it's a very small distillery, isn't it? It's you know, their output's pretty small, isn't it? So
I think it's small in size, but it's probably I'd say maybe 3.5 million. Got my wee book to the side. So
okay.
Would be my guess. 2.8 million. So
no, and then we carried on up the road to Dalwhinnie there, you know, sort of thing. So yeah, but it's very nice, very good dram. So I mean, I've only been, you know, I'm still less than 12 months into the club, and you know, I loved meeting you at the festival and getting to know, scratch into different areas, you know, scratch the surface on it. You know, and some of the whiskies that you're doing and some of the casks you got are just exceptional. So,
yeah, thanks for that, Kevin. And again, this would be another one. We would have bought this 13 years ago. We would have had a batch from Diageo at that time. I don't know how many bottles or how many casks we got for Diageo that year, but this would be one of them, and we've probably, I'd have to check the records, but we probably came down and we ended up with maybe 5 or 6 sister casks from that. So it's great when we decide to bottle one of these, because whilst every cask is different, we know if we've got a good 13-year-old Blair Athol, the chances are, that the next one that we open is going to be a goodie as well.
Fantastic. Just in relation to what you call a group of Stevens, I'm in Liverpool at the moment near the Pier Head. They call them Gerards around here. So.
Very good, very good. Who else is on? Mitch, how are you? How are you getting on with the first 3 drams?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Victor. Yeah, really nice interesting differences between them. I have to say, on the Dufftown, I got sort of, you know, when you put balsamic vinegar on strawberries.
No,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I recommend it. Yeah, I kind of got that sort of note, but I really love the I got a savouriness on the Blair Athol. I was really nice.
So, Mitch, you're the second person I've heard mention that in about the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've never heard of that before. And I'm trying to scratch back to who mentioned it to me a couple of weeks ago about balsamic vinegar on strawberries.
Mhm.
So I now need to try that.
Two of the my favorite weird combinations is that one and the sausages and marmalade. I guarantee you they both work.
All right. Yeah, well, that's a bit like sausages and a sweet pickle or something. I can get that, but lovely. No, I'm going to give it a go.
Awesome. No, they're really good.
very good. So, what's the time? Oh, we've been at it half an hour. We've done 3, one every 10 minutes. That's not bad, is it? Well,
Listen, some great tasting notes coming in the chat, Victor. I love this. And this is part of the reason why I don't do tasting notes, because I think actually hearing it and seeing it in writing from other people is brilliant. So, yeah, I like some of them. Strawberries, balsamic vinegar, and what was the last one? Molasses, and we had digestive biscuits. And I'm trying to see what the last one was. Molasses and...
Yeah, pomegranate molasses.
Pomegranate
Try it.
molasses on ice cream. Fantastic, Kevin.
Yeah, but pomegranate molasses, get it, put it on salad dressings. It's off the charts. Really good. So.
Brilliant.
so before we march on, Paul, I've got to ask you what the last 2 or 3 months has been like at Hunter Laing with the Ardmore release. The Ardnahoe release. I've just read one of the whiskies we're doing later.
I know. No, what's funny is every time I type Ardnahoe, I was typing Ardmore today and Ardnahoe kept coming up. So, no, it's been really hectic and, but in a good way. No, a lot of people in the office have worked harder than, and the bottling plant have worked harder than they've probably worked in their career, to be honest. And they've just had to step up. But every time I'm in the office, I say, no, if the whiskey wasn't good and if people didn't want it, they wouldn't be phoning up and they wouldn't be putting the demands and expectations on us that we have. So basically, we're doing a run of about 70,000 bottles. But half of that's in the UK, half of that's internationally. So the UK part of it's just about done. In fact, the UK part is done. It's all been bottled and distributed. And literally this week and next week and the week after, we're bottling the international part. So we'll start getting stuff out to America and Canada and the Far East and Europe.
You've staggered
and the feedback. Sorry, Victor?
You've actually staggered it. You've done the UK first before you start. Right, okay. I wasn't sure whether you are shipping everything at once.
So that, to be honest, I'm conscious we're being recorded, so I don't want to say too many things that I'm not allowed to say, but the original plan would have been to do a worldwide release all in the one time. Okay. And we just ended up with some bottling challenges, and we've got our own bottling plant, so it's our challenges. We own them, so we're not putting blame on anyone else. But over the last year, we've probably had... Ardnahoe as a distillery turned 5 last November, the first week in November. Yeah. So this time last year at the festival in Islay, we knew that we were working towards a 5-year-old, just with what we were tasting, when it was 4.5 years old this time last year. We didn't want to announce that then, but once it got to 5 last November, we were tasting it and we thought, yep, it's definitely going to go as a 5. We wanted to wait to 2024, so we had enough 5-year-old stock that would actually be able to bottle it. And we didn't want to announce a date of a launch because we didn't want to, well, we did want to announce a date, but we only wanted to announce one date, as in we wanted to announce a date and make it rather than delay it, as many other distilleries have had to do, sometimes through no fault of their own. So we come up with May the 10th, and we knew then that we could only do the UK, and then we would stagger it. So plan B was to stagger it, but it was never plan A, to be perfectly honest. But the great thing is the orders are in from America and Canada and Europe and the Far East. So we're almost bottling to order, to be perfectly honest. That's not strictly true. No, we're doing a 70,000 run, but actually probably the vast majority of them were already ordered. And we're lucky there because we've got distributors in America and Canada and Europe and the Far East, and they probably ordered Ardnahoe whiskey before we ever gave them a sample. In fact, they did. They were probably saying when it was 2 and 3 years old, we'll take 1,000 cases or 5,000 cases or whatever the case may be in the States. So no, it's been great. And we'll try it later on. Some people no doubt have tried it already, but the feedback on it's been really positive as well. And I think people appreciate, and if people have got a different view, please tell me, because feedback is a gift. But I think people appreciate the age statement on it. I think people appreciate the ABV that we've bottled it at 50%. And the packaging, the bottling and the packaging's getting really feedback, which if you told me 3, 4, 5 years ago I was that bothered about what a bottle would look like in a package, I would have turned my nose up at you. But the feedback's been really positive, so we'll take that.
Good, good. Okay, well, look forward to getting to that later on. But let's stay unpeated at the moment, and should we do the Brackla?
Yeah, brilliant. I love this Brackla. So it's another 13-year-old. So that's us at 4 drams, folks. Funnily enough, the numbers are all the same: 13, 13, 13, and 31. So a really unusual kind of tasting. It's almost like having a prime number tasting here for the mathematicians that are in us. So, yeah, another 13-year-old, another old malt cask, another 50%er from Royal Brackla. So this is Dewar's company. Only 269 bottles of this, and again another refill bourbon cask. So the last festival you had, Victor, no, it was nice and bright, but sometimes I'm at festivals where you've got a whiskey like this and the light's not too good, and it almost looks as if sometimes you're pouring out a bottle of water or a glass of water. You sometimes give people a wee 10 centilitre sample and they think, Christ, where's the flavour going to be in that? Because it's so light. People associate light colours and whiskey with no flavour. But hopefully you've seen already with the Blair Athol and the Miltonduff and the Dufftown that you don't need colour to get a good flavour. It's got a lovely nose, this Royal Brackla as well. Oh, wow, it's great. So cheers. I'm just going to have a wee taste.
Well, that's a belter.
This is one of these ones that you get that long finish on. Flavour stays right at the back of the palate. It's got that stringency for those of you that are going to take another wee sip. It does exactly what Highland Park 15 does for me as well. So take a sip, swallow it. It's going to dry the middle of your palate, and then your mouth's going to water again. So as a typical Scotsman, I feel as if I'm getting 2 drams for the price of 1 when your mouth waters. But I love this. It happens with probably about half the whiskies I drink, that you just get that stringency in the alcohol because of the fermentation times and ABV and all the combinations. You drink it, your palate dries out right in the middle of the tongue, and then if you keep your mouth closed and just wait a few seconds, you get that mouth watering feeling on it. I sometimes call it an opal fruit whiskey, made to make your mouth water. MD getting that?
Yeah. And Paul, this one is a little bit unusual, I guess. It's 46.8 ABV on it.
Yeah, so another, is this one of the exceptions to the rules? Thanks, Victor. So my notes are wrong, I've written 50. So this is, let me see, one of the exceptions to the rules, 46.8. So it's a really unusual old malt cask. I rather suspect that's because it's been made to order. So there's probably been a client that's taken the vast majority of these 260 bottles, and they've asked for it to be presented in an old malt cask presentation. but they've wanted a lower strength. So this is not natural strength. This has been nominated strength, taken down to 46.8. So it's an exception to the rule. I wouldn't put it at the back of the cabinet and think that it's going to become more valuable. It's not. But as I said earlier on, there's an exception to every rule, and this is one of the few from Old Malt Cask.
This is
Royal
lovely.
Brackla was the first ever distillery to get a royal warrant. Most people will know. The King just put out a list of new warrants in the last couple of weeks, and as I understand it, Royal Brackla have maintained their warrant. As I understand it, them and Royal Auchroisk, I think. But whether they do or not, they're still able to get the name Royal on it as part of it. So it goes back to, I think, 17, the late 1700s. I think it was one of the King Georges. He granted the royal warrant. He passed away quite quickly thereafter. He was only monarch for 5-6 years, and his successor was Queen Victoria, and she kept the warrant going. So lovely whiskey. People have tried Royal Brackla before, or is anyone trying it for the first time? Nobody trying it for the first time.
Yeah,
See
no, I think
Phil
it might be
Jones
first
there,
time for me.
or Steve, one of the Steves is trying it for the first time. I see Phil Jones there. Phil, it's good to see you. How are you enjoying your night?
Excellent, Paul. Nice. This is beautiful, though, isn't it? I love this.
I love the nose in this, and I had this in one of the other whiskies we've got. I had them both last week. I don't know which day it was last week. In fact, it was Saturday. Saturday here in Glasgow was like super warm, no breeze, no wind, probably about 24, 25 degrees. And I sat and drank this outside, and I drank one of the other ones that we've got tonight as well. And it's good in the glass tonight, but see outside in a warm afternoon, it just kind of really popped, just really kind of elevated, you know. And it doesn't happen with every whiskey. Sometimes, especially a lower strength whiskey, it kind of almost disappears in the glass outside, or when you're on holiday abroad. But this just really, really popped. It just became really full of tropical fruits and more floral notes and citrus, and I think the nose lasted forever, but the taste lasted forever at the back of the palate as well.
Do you like it, Mr.
And again,
Limbaugh?
I'm getting to the stage where I actually want to weave this phrase into the conversation. In my opinion, that's a really good version of Royal Brackla.
I think it's a belter. There's only one left on the website. There's a couple of people been on it. So if that's still there.
I did a tasting with Stonehaven Whiskey Club up in, was it February, I think, and we had this in it. And it was the day, in fact, it was the day Scotland played England in rugby, so probably about February. So they started the tasting early in the afternoon. We all went down to the bar to watch the Scotland-England game. So everybody had a good... Everyone was tired and emotional at the end of it, especially the way the game went. But at the end of it, someone came up and says, listen, that was a great tasting. Can I buy you a Royal Brackla for the bar? So he gave me the Royal Brackla 12-year-old from the back of the bar. And this bar had a really, really good whiskey collection. And I tasted it, and I had a couple of pints of Guinness by this time, and I'd had my whiskies. And I ended up tasting this next to the distillery bottling. And there's just no comparison, just absolute no comparison. And I don't want to rubbish any other whiskey. You know, there's nothing wrong with the 12-year-old distillery bottling for Royal Brackla, but it's the beauty of if you want consistency and you want to have the same whiskey all the time, go and get the 12-year-old Royal Brackla from Dewars, and it'll suit you really, really well. But if you're looking for something different each time you try something, you know, independent bottlers and single casks are great. So, yeah. I think this is a good version of Royal Brackla.
Good afternoon whiskey as well. One for a summer barbecue, I think.
Yeah. And that ties in with last Saturday here, you know, drinking it outdoors. I wasn't probably thinking of food at that time, but no, good shout.
Who won that rugby game this year, Paul?
So I think Scotland ended up winning it, but I think Scotland were up like was it not 20 odd at half time, and then England come back, and it was a kind of, I think we won in the final minute or something. So it was kind of, I think it was one of the nervy games. But thanks for asking, Victor.
Anytime, anytime.
I've got to tell you, with my beloved wife, we walked into a pub in Dundee, and England scored first, and
Oh,
she
did
kicked
they?
me.
So they did. So they
She
did.
kicked me. She kicked me and said, "If you say anything, you're dead." And I probably would have been dead if it said something anyway. And then we got battered. Absolutely.
I've just remembered that, Kevin, because I missed the start of the game. I was coming down, everybody else left, and I was packing up, and then I came downstairs, and we were 7-0 down or whatever else it was, and then we went into overdrive unusually. So yeah, I remember now.
I was the only Englishman in the pub.
Sit in your hands.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have a slightly different memory. I've got it down as a draw in here. It was definitely a draw. Definitely. Don't know what you're talking about.
You had too much whiskey that afternoon, did you, Steve?
I had to drown my sorrows, Victor. Let's be honest. Come on.
Okay, let's move on from
Yeah.
that. So we might have some dropouts because it's been a while since the Calcutta Cup went south, I think. Silence. Right. How about ramping up to the Auchroisk 25?
All right.
You okay with that? This is another one I really wanted to have in the tasting. So just to give everybody the kind of the background to this tasting, Paul and I have been talking about this for maybe 2 or 3 months. And we talked about doing a Scarabus one, which is the peated range that Laing do, and I really like. We talked about doing some of the Journey series, and then this range of whiskey was released probably early spring, and I to be honest, I was all over it, and wanted to do all 7 of them. And when Peter and I added up how much that was going to cost on a tasting pack, it was going to cost about 75 quid a pack, which I know what you lot are like. You know, you're all a bit thrifty. Reckoned it was probably just a few pounds too far. So I called Paul and said, look, you know, is there anything? Can you give us some support on this? And to be fair to him, he talked to the powers that be at Hunter Laing, and
No, I didn't. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Victor.
Okay, I'll make this video private, but anyway, nobody knows. And Paul sent a couple of bottles down, which brought the price below 50 quid, which is an absolute steal, I think. So thank you for that, Paul. And
No, you're welcome.
I won't be dobbing you in, but yeah,
No, it's all right. It's okay. So
we managed to do all 7, and then we got delayed because, probably because the Ardnahoe was being distributed. We didn't get the bottles in time to send them out to you. By which time we'd had our Ardnahoe, and we threw that in as well. So that's how it turned into 8 for 49 quid, which is stunning deal. Thank you.
Oh, so this is first edition bottlings of Auchroisk, 48% from 1996. We get 540 bottles of this. No, so that's a good return out of a butt. So this is a Pedro Jimenez butt. So kind of unusual. No, most sherried whiskies will be Oloroso. Most times you hear about PX. There's a mix of PX and Oloroso, but because this is single cask, you're getting an unusual age of Auchroisk 25. You're getting an unusual cask provenance, PX. Almost certainly a second or probably a third or fourth fill PX cask, to be perfectly honest, given that it's been in the same cask for 25 years. This was a first fill cask, it would be all overcooked. It's come out bang on 48%. So 48% sounds like a nominated strength, but it's a single cask strength whiskey. And I just think this, I've had this a couple of times. I really forgive the hackneyed phrase, whether it's a very good, I use the word now for some whiskies that they're exceptional. Now, whether you agree this is exceptional in terms of quality is up to your own taste. But this is exceptional if you describe exceptional as it's different for everything else. So many people here will have tried an Auchroisk, but very rarely tried a 25 and very rarely one from a PX cask. And just a slight clarification on what Victor said. Victor, this might just have come out recently to yourself, but actually it's a 2022 bottling. And I'll mention that for a couple of reasons. It might be a 2022 bottling because we might have had an order and people didn't end up following through with the order. But how much have you got this going for, Victor, as a cost?
Oh, Nigel just put a link on there. Let's see. £175. That's like one less.
That's a
So
joke.
the reason I mentioned that is that I think there's one other retailer. There's one other retailer in the UK with this, and I think they're doing it at about £100 over that, if memory serves me right.
Aye, okay. I just take your number and put a wee bit on to be sensible.
Yeah, and that's me just reinstating. I know what I've sold it to you. We sold it to you for, and I had a rough idea what you're putting it out for. And I think I mentioned to you that it was available elsewhere at that price, and that was part of the reason that you were attracted to it, if memory serves me right. But what we do is if we put something out in 2022 and for whatever reason it doesn't sell, or somebody says they'll take stock and they don't, when we sell it to somebody in 2024, like we've done with Victor, we're selling to 2022 prices. So we could have updated our price quite easily, but we chose not to because the price we put it out in 2022 stays. Victor, in fairness to Victor, he could have matched what other people are now selling it for, and he's chosen to give it to people at the price that he has. So if you search Auchroisk 25 Hunter Laing, our first editions, 48%, you'll find other retailers selling it for significantly more than that. So
it's lovely though, isn't it? Regardless of the price, it's lovely. Where's Nick Burton? You're sitting there with your dad. What do you make of this one?
Literally just on my first sip. I'm not finding as much on the nose with this. Definitely more on the palate. Enjoying the sort of sherry. To be honest, I'm still. I disagree with everybody actually on the Dufftown. I'm just picking up, and I've got a little bit left in my glass, and I'm just getting dry papaya. You know, in my muesli in the morning, I always say a little piece of dry papaya for a last mouthful, and that is just full of tropical fruit for me. I'm not really getting the wood and the sort of old varnish that people were talking about. It's I love that. Probably a bit pricey for me to enjoy the other end of the day from my muesli, but this, I don't know, not quite on it, to be honest.
Okay, we'll come back to you once you've digested it.
Yeah.
Where else are we? Who else we got here? We've got Mr. Dave Hunter. You're not on camera, but you're on speaker or on mic. Nope.
While we're waiting on him, Victor, I'm getting loads of typical sherry notes here. I think it's because it's the first sherry cask we've had. I'm getting that kind of red and dried fruit on the nose. So it's probably the first sherry cask whiskey I've had for a couple of weeks, actually. So it feels very different to me.
Yeah, I'm getting the sherry, yeah. I like that.
It is lovely.
So I see you're now out of stock, Victor. So £175 for a 25-year-old single cask. That's pretty good.
Have you hacked into my systems or something? You've seen that before me.
I've just went on to Nigel's link there, so
It's gone, is it?
yeah.
Okay. Oh well.
We've got more, and we've got a couple of cases in stock. So if you get enough appetite for people interested in it, let me know.
Okay. If anybody does want one, send me a message, and I'll get Paul to send them down at that price. I think we probably we normally give members 10% off that price as well, Paul. So that would have.
Well, I'm just going to check online how much somebody else is
gone
doing it
for
for.
about
I'm not going to.
160 quid, I reckon that was gone for.
Wow.
Excellent.
For a 25-year-old single malt.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. I quite fancy another one of them.
Let me check what it's going for.
I'm just not getting anything.
Yeah.
No, but I am.
Yeah, so there's another UK retailer doing that for 260 just now.
Good luck.
So well done putting it out at that price, mate. Well done.
Okay, if anybody does want another bottle, send me a PM and I will be ordering one for myself, so I can put yours in too. Shall we go north and have some Pulteney?
Right, so I've got none of this as well. So that's the two I've not got, the Pulteney and the Dufftown. So I'm going to listen with interest to see what people are getting out the Dufftown.
So I do have the bottle here.
Sorry, the Pulteney.
Yeah, the Pulteney's 2002, 21-year-old. It's 59%, and it's on first editions. That's
Refill barrel, 201 bottles. So we didn't get anywhere near the amount of this out that we did out the Dufftown. But all the bottles we've got tonight are less than. There's only two over 300 bottles. The Blair Athol had 350. The Auchroisk had 540. The rest are all in the kind of 100s and 200s. So this is 201 bottles of your Pulteney. So Mitch is enjoying it by the look of it.
Mitch, you're a bit of a fanboy for Pulteney, aren't you?
I literally, yeah, it's a good job I'm on mute because I will be fanboying all over this. I can imagine.
You're gonna have to smell it, taste it, and give us your opinion on it.
Oh my word, no pressure.
So while we are drinking that, it's interesting working for Hunter Laing because when you look at some of the casks that we have, this is a really good example of it. That it's a 2002 bottling, or sorry, 2002 distillation. It was put in the cask in 2002. And what I've noticed in my time working with Hunter Laing is that when you go back to the years of many of our casks, we tend to end up buying a lot of casks the year before or the year after a company changes hands. So in 2001, Pacific Spirits bought what we now know as Inverhouse. Inverhouse didn't buy it to 2006, I think. So what tends to happen is that when a distillery or a group of distilleries get sold, the group that are selling it sell a lot of casks because it allows them to bring in a lot of capital that they then take as shares before they sell it. And then the company that are buying it, so if you're buying it for 30 million or 300 million or whatever the number is, they want a quick return in their investment as well. So if they've bought a lot of stock, as they would have had with Pacific Spirits or Inverhouse when they got it later, they sell a lot of casks in their first year as well. So independent bottlers end up taking that opportunity where there's an increased availability of casks in the year before a distillery is sold and the year after. And this is a very good example of that. So this is a 2002, the year after Pacific Spirits became the owners in 2001. And I'm adding 2 and 2 here and hopefully making 4. My guess is that they've invested in what we now know as Inverhouse. They've put a lot of capital in it to make the purchase. And one of the things they've done to get some of that capital back is they've not made gin, they've not done other things, albeit they did start making gin at Caroon. They've said, let's sell X number of casks, and that gets capital in very, very quickly. And Hunter Laing as an independent bottler get the benefit of that opportunity. So this is almost certainly what's happened with this 2002 Pulteney that you're drinking tonight.
Very good. Mitch, have you tried it yet? Where's he gone?
I think Mitch is on. Mitch might be frozen there, or he's really meditating on that, nosing that Pulteney. I'm not sure,
no.
one or the other, Victor.
Apologies, yeah, my internet's on a bit of wet string. I do. It just crashed out there. Yeah, this is how I want my Pulteney. You put your nose in the glass and you're standing at the edge of the quayside, taking in that sea air, that lovely little bit of brine, and yeah, on the palate, yeah, just a little bit of fruit in the background, but it's just like a warm hug. Absolutely stunning Pulteney this is.
Very good. Very good. I see Danny's joined us. Danny, are you you must have put the kids to bed. Are you able to speak?
I am, yeah. Sorry I'm late again.
No worries. No worries. Where are you at? Have you caught up? Are you
Yeah, I'm on the Pulteney now, and then what was the last one that we had? So I'm about 4 behind. I think, but yeah, Pulteney and the family bottles, the Auchroisk as well. So yeah, Pulteney, I think echoing what Mitch just said, so that I love the keep my nose in the glass, that kind of sea air, that briny kind of note to it as well. So yeah, really love the nose on it.
excellent? Which Steve wants to give us an opinion on this as what to choose from? Steve Laidlaw, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here. I think this is the dram of the night so far. I thought the Dufftown was fabulous, but if I was going to buy a bottle, and I've just been checking, you've still got 2 left, I'd be buying this. So I'm in the Mitch camp. I think this does the kind of coastal thing with a little bit of kind of edge better than Glen Scotia. And historically, I'm known for. I love Ian McAllister. I love the distillery. I've been there a few times, but I struggle with the spirit. And I think this is a fabulous coastal dram. It's the dram of the night so far for me. Excellent. Thank you.
I'm really interested in that comparison with Glen Scotia, Stephen. That's brilliant. I'm a big fan of Pulteney, like Mitch and others, but I remember I used to walk through duty free and turn my nose up at a lot of the whiskies because they had no age statement and all the rest of it. This is years ago. But it's actually old Pulteney that made me think, do you know, there's lots of whiskies that are in duty free, in travel retail that are really, really good. And it was when I started having some of the old Pulteney Navigator series and things like that, you think, well, do you know, actually there's lots of whiskies in here that don't have an age on them, but they're really, really good. I'm going back 15, 20 years ago, and I thought something had to have a number on it. But I like that comparison with Glen Scotia in terms of your views. That's interesting.
He's wrong, of course.
So Nigel Mission's a massive Glen Scotia fan. Nigel, how do you think this compares to, I'd respect your opinion. What do you think?
I'm actually a massive coastal whiskey West Coast fan, and that includes what I call all the very far North Island whiskies, Pulteney included, all the way around to Inaugural, really, to be honest. It is about the furthest east that you still get that sort of coastal note. This is
good knowledge.
This is absolutely stellar. I've just gone for the 31-year-old Mystery Isla that Mr. Hill put in the club chat earlier on today. And that's the only thing thinking, can I go and spend the same sort of money again on yet another bottle of whiskey? But I'm sorely tempted by this one. It is blindingly good. So, it's good value for what it is, before you even start. But the quality of whiskey in this is absolutely superb. And it is, as Mitch says, bang on the distillery character. And it's 59% as well, isn't it, Victor?
Yeah, yeah.
9%, yes.
A lot of booze for your bucks with that one. So that is the dram of the night so far. It's going to take a lot of beating, I think, but that's really, 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 really good.
How much are you doing that for, Victor?
It's on there at 195, Paul.
For 21-year-old at 59%. Yeah, well done. Good.
Have you got your price comparison engine there working out?
No, so this is actually relatively new in the market. So this is another one that's been, if you look at the label, it's got to celebrate the first release from Ardnahoe on it.
Yeah, it does. It says that along the bottom.
Yep. So it's only come out in April. I'm not sure who else has bought it, to be perfectly honest. I don't have that available to me just now. So this is the first time I've seen it in a tasting. To be honest, you were. I remember when this came out actually, and within an hour of this email coming out, you were right on the Pulteney and the Dufftown. You were really, really interested in them very, very quickly. So I don't know who else we've sold to, either in the UK or abroad. But you were the quickest off the mark. There's no doubt about it. So, and the feedback from the Pulteney obviously is very, very good. I'm quite jealous. So I need to get a dram of this when I get to the office on Monday.
Very good, very good. Does anybody not like it? I'm going to put that out there. There's been some great positive feedback. Is anybody not sure?
Brilliant. Pulteney such there's lots of distilleries that make really good spirit. Most of them do, to be perfectly honest. But there's some that are just elevated, and Pulteney's one of them for me, in my personal opinion, in terms of the palate that I've got and what I like. Just there's even when they put a Pulteney out at 40 or 43% in the supermarket or at travel retail, it's still got enough in it to interest you. So it's no surprise to me that a Pulteney of this age, I've had older Pulteneys than this, but I've never had one of this kind of age at that kind of strength. So I'm really interested to try it, especially given the feedback for your club members, Victor. So yeah, good choice, well done.
Cool, good. I'm just reading
the tasting notes. So I don't really go a lot in tasting notes, but given I've not got it in the glass next to me, apples, toffee, and flowers in the nose. Sweet golden syrup, cherries, and vanilla on the palate, and long, sweet finish. Yeah, sounds tasty.
So I'm just going to put an early warning out because we're coming to the last dram of the kind of Hunter Laing independent bottles, and then we'll try the Ardnahoe. But my early warning is I'm going to ask my usual pair, Mr. Chris Arnott and Mr. Phil Jones, to give us their summaries after this. So I can see Chris has been taking notes. It's always fun to hear what they are. And Phil always has some good opinions. So after this one, chaps, let's do the Ardmore 12.
13.
Is it 13?
Yeah, it's another 13. We're sticking to the 13s and the 31s here.
No, I'm gonna overrule you. I'm gonna overrule you. And
was it a 12?
Where's Steve McGinnity? We had this discussion in the mash, because when we put the order in, we got a 12, and it was 12-year-old that came through, and you sent a couple of bottles down to boost the set, and it was a 13 you sent.
Oh, listen, I thought you had ordered this. So
we ordered.
All right, well, we've got different drams here. Wow.
We have,
We've
so
got different drams.
you've got the 13 and we've got the 12.
Oh, bugger. So I was just going to say, this was one of the other drams I had it on Saturday, and it's my favourite ever Ardmore, and I'm an Ardmore fan. Even the Ardmore legacies, the 40 and 43% Ardmores, I think are great. So you've obviously, what's the HL number on it?
This is an Ardmore 12. It's an old malt cask, HL. Shit, I need my glasses for that.
But well, listen, mine doesn't have one on it because it's an anniversary bottle. So, I can't believe we've got different Ardmores. The one I've got's from a white wine cask. I think it's a Sauterne cask. So I'll drink this, but you've got something different.
So this is from a refill barrel. It's HL 21172.
21172.
21172.
Right, I'll check that. Oh, listen, I've thought you've ordered this, so bugger.
Maybe I need to
Well,
order
listen, I hope you enjoy it, folks. So Ardmore, people, I'm absolutely sure you've all had Ardmore before. One of the few distilleries in Scotland that have been making peated whiskey continuously, I think, since they opened. Don't have a visitor centre anymore, but I've managed to visit it a couple of times just through some contacts. Great distillery. Owned by Beans Tory now, and as much as it's got a peated flavour to it, it's very, very light. I think it's like 4 or 5 parts per million, so not as peated as some of your Isla or Island fans might like. So I hope yours is as good as mine. So cheers.
Cheers. So this one, Paul, has got the message to commemorate the launch of the Ardnahoe single malt. So this must be, this is a very recent release.
Oh yeah, definitely. So so again, that must have just come out in April or so. I've made the assumption that you've bought the one that we brought out for the 25th anniversary. So the one I've got is the dark green bottle.
Yeah.
25th anniversary that came out November, December. So it's because we've done this on the 25th anniversary bottling and label style, we've not put the HL number on it. So I can't just confirm it's a sister cask from the same batch or same parcel, but I'm pretty sure it will be, to be perfectly honest. How's it going down, Victor?
Lovely. It really is lovely. The thing I love about Ardmore is that gentle smoke that's in it, the gentle peat they use. You really feel it when you in the mouth and the tongue. It kind of fills your tongue with that. It is lovely.
Yeah.
A fan of
There's a
Ardmore.
lot of people that don't like peated or smoky whiskey, and some people would introduce them to a Talisker or a Highland Park. For me, Ardmore's a really, really good starting off point. It gets you really, really low. And don't get me wrong, there's some people that are so sensitive to smoke and peat that even Ardmore puts them off. But for me, it's a great, great stepping stone into the dark side, to be perfectly honest.
And it's a distillery. I've had a tour of it as well. Spirits Bayside Festival week. They opened up for the day, and we got a good look around.
Yeah. They still got the old Saladin boxes for where they used to do the floor malting. So it's the only time I've ever seen a Saladin box where they used to have the floor maltings in. It's a Saladin box that kind of basically turned the malt over and avoided the monkey shoulder kind of repetitive strain injuries. So yeah, they've still got them there, even though it's like a museum actually, the floor maltings.
This is nice. So go on then, Mr. Jones. Give us your opinion.
This one's lovely, isn't it? I don't know. I'm just trying to read what I've written, having gone through all this. You don't get lemony peat, do you? But it's almost a lemony peatness to this one. Into fennel maybe on that nose, but then it's sort of if you got a toffee apple with like smoky toffee on it, it's perfect in it, and then a nice cracked black pepper sauce with an ample splash of whiskey in it, I think it's always a winner in it. If you got a drop of whiskey in that one. But then there's like coconut. There a bit of coconut on the end of that one as well. It's just like I think that's just quite a strange, lovely, but really there's a lot going off, even for an Ardmore. You know, that's even not, but for an Ardmore that you're expecting smoke and whatever. But I just think there's a hell of a lot happening in that one.
And has it got a long finished fill like the one I've got?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's there, and I sat right at the end of it. I can sort of pick up a bit of desiccated coconut right at the end, which is a bit unusual in it for a smoked whiskey. So.
And I like Steve Laidlaw's comment on the chat, Victor, about a gateway dram for, if you're into phenolics. No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with it.
Beautiful. Do you want a quick rundown? I'll do it quick.
Go on then.
You've got Chris coming on as well, so and he's always he's more thoughtful than me, and his tastes are a little bit better. You know,
Right. I'm going to be checking that he's not stealing your ideas.
No, I mean, as we established, he's a vegetarian, so any references to meat, I just hope that you sort of take that as in context. I love Miltonduff because I think it's a really nice dram. You don't get a lot of it, but so I'm picking. I thought straight away sweet sort of barley sugar, but then like an almost an overripe sweet apple kicking off in there, bits of ginger, bits of cinnamon. I thought that's beautiful. The Dufftown, I've still got a load in my glass, so I've, other than that initial musty fruit bit, and not the wrong way, but when you've got then the bloody pigeons have ate some of your strawberries and you've left them to mush around on the garden, you get that bit. And I know somebody mentioned pencil shavings. I think Steve mentioned pencil shaving. I'll say Stephen because that covers everybody then on the tasting, doesn't it? I can't go wrong. And then I don't know whether pear schnapps exists, but I just thought a pear schnapsy kind of kick to that one. That's just really nice. And the Blair Athol, I've just got all kinds of notes going off there. Bit of creme brulee, sort of nice honey toffee on the nose, and I can't read me writing, but it almost got, you can, this is the bit, the lack of culture, because I've got a hint of tinned custard and tinned peaches going with it, which sort of explains a bit of my background, the old bird's custard. And then some sort of waxy hazelnuts on the end of it, but again, really nice. The Brackla, I did a trip round Old Fields, they make cider, so it's a cider place, and they walked us up to the orchard, and the first thing that hit me on the nose was like an apple orchard in full blossom, so you'd got all that real beautiful apple blossom note on that one. Something that was a bit vegetal with it, I thought was really nice, but then like a sharp red fruit compote kicking off in there. I liked the Auchroisk because it wasn't, like I think Paul said, it's probably second, third, fourth fill because it wasn't overpowered, was it, by PX? So my mom used to make a brilliant sherry trifle, so sherry whisked into the cream beforehand, and about 15 bottles of sherry put in the bottom to soak it up. And it had got that real aroma to it with chocolate on it. Bit of spice baked apple, but for me, a real kick, like a fig biscuit. Like if you proper old fashioned fig rolls. So, and then the Pulteney notes just seem to splay everywhere. You get the kick, the creamy vanilla, a bit of hint of olive oil, malted milk biscuit and whatever. And the taste hits you straight away, doesn't it? It's a real full up front taste. Bit of fresh green apple. Then I thought sort of zesty lemon, grapefruit, bit of juice. But then at the end, and I'm saying this to folks from Southport, when you've had fish and chips, old fashioned beef dripping fish and chips at the seaside, and for the next 2 hours you're licking the salt off your lips, aren't you? And that's what I think I've still got the salt on my lips from that one now, so absolute cracker. And then, as I said, I just said, haven't I, that last one, lemony peat, cracked pepper sauce with a bit of whiskey. That's really nice. So I'm absolutely Boston drams. The coin of West Midlands.
Can I come in, Victor? Phil, see your comment about the Blair Athol. It's just literally, as you spoke about the Blair Athol, I picked up my glass. It's got a tiny bit left in it. And I got toffee and custard. And then you said toffee and custard. So if anybody's got anything left in their Blair Athol glass, absolutely, that's exactly what you get from it. No, so loved your tasting notes. Well done, mate.
I think I've got a wee bit left in the Dufftown. All the kind of dustiness is gone in the last 40 minutes. It's been sitting in the glass, and it's really, really fresh, and it tastes really clean. All that stuff people were talking about, wax and mahogany. I think I'm going to side with Nick Button. He said it earlier on. I don't get that anymore at all. It's done well. It's done well for half an hour in the glass, in my opinion. Chris, how are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a wee while.
Aye, it's been grand actually. I'll tell you what, this has been some kind of run of whiskies actually to have a blast and a welcome back, I must say. So, but I think Phil's done such a good job there. I was kind of striking off Phil as I was going through there, all the things that you've said. I also had down, but I had a couple of different things there I thought was quite interesting. So the first one, the Miltonduff, I thought was a great opener. I got a lot of kind of furniture polish, woody, sharp, bit mustiness to it and things. But the longer it sat in the glass, I got a bit more kind of caramel, tropical. The nose changed in it as well, a bit more wine gums and things kind of coming through. But thoroughly enjoyed that. I kind of really felt it kind of opened the kind of palate up. The Dufftown, I thought, was just awesome. I kind of suddenly went, oh wow, this is a whole new world. But I got marzipan on the nose right up front. Very different, that kind of marzipan almonds. And then as I started to drink it, I really got into very fruity, sweet shock, cola cubes. I loved them. I loved the kind of pencil lead kind of note there that was brought up, because I was getting a bit of that as well. So yeah, I think Stephen, it was one of the Stevens that said that, definitely. It was but I did get that tongue coating thing, and actually what I did find with that is the longer I left it, I started to get a lot of coconut macaroon coming through. And the glass now empty, I'm still getting the coconut macaroon. So like you say, Victor, that Dufftown's just the gift that keeps on giving. It's still sitting there, and it's wafting away. The Blair Athol was quite interesting. I took a bit to connect with that, and I laugh at Phil saying that I'm a vegetarian, because some of my notes here are bacon and ham notes with Bristol gravy. So there's obviously a little bit from my childhood coming back in some of the things I've eaten, but I got a real kind of sweaty dunnage on the nose when I first opened it and tried it. A wee bit unpleasant, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to take a bit of time to oxidize and open up. But as it did, I kind of got that wee bit balsamic. I loved the fact somebody had said something about a treacle note. I was getting elements of that. But I found just a little bit of water in it for me. And suddenly I was getting that kind of bacon, ham, bisto, and actually a wee bit of fruitiness, maybe kind of sweet ham kind of thing coming through. But you know, Blair Athol's a real crowd pleaser. It's always what I quite enjoy. The Royal Brackla was amazing. You almost kind of went. It's the one that just kind of it's a barbell. It's either end. You're kind of sitting going, I'm getting acetone nail varnish at this end. I'm getting all this astringent stuff in the middle, and then at the other end, I'm getting strawberry. And I loved your opal fruits comment, Paul, and the kind of fruit cocktail. I got lots of apple, pear, peach coming through, and it seemed to be a whiskey that just lingered forever. Really kind of went on. So lovely drink actually. Now the Auchroisk, it's an interesting one because Auchroisk, I just wrote belter. I just thought right away, oh, I love this. kind of fruity peat, strawberries, really jammy. The longer it was sitting there, that kind of real raspberry jammy kind of way. And it actually took me back to my childhood. I had an aunt in Yorkshire and we went down every summer. And I remember a day we went to Filey Bay and we had kind of waffles, cream and jam right on the waterfront. And I just suddenly got that kind of lingering thing of all that raspberry jamminess and all the rest of it kind of going through. And that for me was the kind of dram of the night. But I could understand then coming onto the Pulteney why everybody was getting thrilled with that one. So, I mean, Phil said it all there, but kind of apple, pear, tropical fruit. I added a little water to see what it did, and I got a lot more of that kind of smoothness and a lot more mango and pineapple and things. I didn't get so much of the brine on that one, but I did get that kind of malty taste and things in it. But it's just, for a Pulteney, I thought it was incredibly smooth. Really, really enjoyed it. And then kind of finishing up there with that Ardmore, you know, I kind of think Phil had ticked most of the stuff I'd written here, but I did kind of have the kind of marshmallows over a smoky fire. So that little bit of the sweetness and the taste of the marshmallows with that smokiness coming through. I like Phil's comment about the lemon. I get that. But I'm kind of getting notes now. I've still got a bit in the glass, and I'm getting a lot more macaroon and coconut coming through in that one now. But the Ardmore, I mean, I don't like a lot of heavily peated whiskies, but I think the Ardmore, I can really connect with it. And I think maybe because it plays that kind of fruit and sootiness and smokiness really well. So what a fantastic lineup. Thoroughly enjoyed it so far. And I see we've still got one to go.
We've still got one to go. But listen, thanks Chris, and thanks Phil for summing up. I think you always do a great job of that. So the one to go, Paul.
Yeah, so listen, that's great feedback, guys. That's really good. And what I love about whiskey enthusiasts is that you can tell the difference when someone's been polite for politeness sake and when they're being really, really genuine. But you're happy to compliment things, but happy to say things weren't to your palate as well. But for the two of you guys, well done, great tasting notes. And I love it when people like Chris go back to their childhood memories, and they narrate that into detail about why they're remembering a flavour, not just that they remember a flavour, but taking them back to childhood as well. So the final dram, folks, is Ardnahoe. So some of you might have tried it already. So that's what the bottle looks like. I really like the bottle presentation. First of all, I saw this about a year ago. I just like the fact that it's got a real combination of being quite old-fashioned, but quite contemporary at the same time. Kind of slightly wider shoulders, the neck, and I love the labelling and the size of the print. I also like the box that it comes in. It's got lots of information on it, but not too much, enough that you need without being overly much. And without needing to put your glasses on to read it at my age either. So Ardnahoe first ran Spirit in November 2018. I was lucky enough to be there that day that they ran the Spirit. 5 years later, it turns 5 years old in November 2023. And all the casks are vatted together literally about 3 weeks ago to find out what you've got in your glass tonight. So a 5-year-old age statement whiskey. A decision was made quite a while ago to bottle it at 50%, which I was delighted to hear because the history of the company with old malt cask and things is about 50%, and the fashion, if you like, for whiskey enthusiasts is for a higher strength whiskey. So you're getting that natural colour naturally presented. So this is mostly bourbon cask, wee bit of sherry cask in it. Is anybody trying this for the first time just now? Yeah. So it's so in terms of the ppm here, the phenol content, it's 40 parts per million. So that's going to be the same phenol content as you get from Caol Ila, from Laphroaig and Lagavulin, and I think Ardbegg's the same as well. But actually, you're going to find a very, very, very different experience when you're drinking it. So this is the one I will give you a lot of tasting notes about, or a wee bit more tasting notes, because when the distillery was built, it was built with flavour in mind. And if you speak to the architect, Ian Hepburn, and you speak to Jim McHugh, and you speak to Fraser Hughes, the distillery manager, every bit of pipe work was all about flavour. The stills were all about flavour. The line arm, which is the longest in Scotland, was all about flavour. The 77 metres of worm tubs was all about flavour. So I hope what you get here is, now, this is not how Fraser Hughes describes it, the distillery manager. So Fraser would describe this as a very fruit-forward Islay single malt, and he's right. The way I describe it is, everybody here will have tried Caol Ila, lots and lots of Caol Ila, I'm sure. So when I get Caol Ila, I get smoking peat and then tropical fruit at the back of the palate. What I get with Ardnahoe, and what I love about Ardnahoe, is you get a bit of smoke in the nose, and when you taste it, you're going to get Caol Ila in reverse. Now, you're never going to see that in the market and stuff, guys. That's my view. But what you're going to get is tropical fruit at the front, that very, very fruit-forward flavour, and the smoke and peat comes at the end. So it should feel like something that's typically Islay, single malt, but something that's distinct from others as well. So I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to, for those guys that put their hands up saying this is them trying it for the first time, I look forward to hearing what you say about it. So cheers, and to a long, long, long future for Ardnahoe. Cheers.
Cheers, and congratulations on you guys for getting it into the bottle after probably 10 long years in the planning and production.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, while people are tasting it, everyone knows that Hunter Laing was a relatively recent company. 2013 just celebrated its 11th anniversary, came from the background of Douglas Laing, and the kind of demerge of the companies between Stuart and Fred. So Fred kept the name Douglas Laing. They split up the stock halfway, and Stuart kept the bottling plant and a number of other things. Not a kind of pretty equitable split. But Fred and his family have went their way and are doing brilliant things, absolutely doing brilliant things. Stuart wanted to go a slightly different direction with his children, are doing different things, and one of the different things ended up being Ardnahoe. It was never Ardnahoe at the start when the split was, but both brothers wanted, even when the brothers were together, they had put in several bids to buy distilleries, ended up being gazumped at the last minute, normally by an international buyer, to be perfectly honest. And having faced that consequence a number of times, Stuart decided, let's build my own distillery, because what he wanted was a distillery that had lots of stock, like a Ardmore or a Bladnoch or somewhere else like that. And these things fell through for the ones that they were putting bids in for. So ended up finding a fantastic plot of land, an Islay, and those that have been at the distillery will know what the outlook's like, and the vista halfway between Bunnahabhain and Caol Ila. Built a fantastic distillery architecturally, but from an engineering and chemical point of view, it was all designed around about flavour. And when having been there 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when people are talking about flavour as concrete's getting poured and plans are getting done for like copper and steel and engineering and pipe works, it was a wee bit of a mystery to me. And I've read about this lots of time, about how people build distilleries with flavour in mind. And it's been great to be on that journey and actually see it happen, even with the cynical head that I had. I thought it was a lot of marketing rubbish, to be perfectly honest, but I've actually seen it happen. And I've seen Fraser Hughes change some of the pipe work within the distillery over year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because he's wanting to engineer changes in flavour, or engineer that flavour that he's looking for. So hopefully what you're getting, ladies and gentlemen, are a very fruit forward, typical single Islay malt with peat and smoke at the back of the palate. And if you're tasting this for the first time, I'd welcome your view about its age, its strength, and whether it's met your expectations or not. So cheers.
Cheers. Who wants to go first and give some feedback?
I'm happy to. I've been waiting a long time for this, and thanks, Paul, for everything you've done to contribute towards the journey so far. What I like most is that you're not taking the P with the price point on this. You know, it's a 50% for 70 quid for an inaugural release. And I can't remember an inaugural that cheap at that high ABV for a long time. So first of all, thank you for that. That's really something that we've all wanted as enthusiasts. And I'll be buying a bucket load of it on the back of that as well. Taste-wise, I think it tastes of copper. I think you get a lot of that. You get a lot of the lightness with the fruit coming forward, which to me is what distinguishes it from the other Islers and gives it a unique place that is undisputedly an Isla, but is still a nice fruity, bourbony Isla without being, the Caol Ila in reverse is absolutely bang on. That really resonated with me. So fruit first, and then really intense peat afterwards. And there's a nice blend between both types of peat. You get the ashy peat, you get the medicinal peat, and there's a nice balance of both in there as well. But for me, it's like licking a copper pipe. And it leaves that sort of same taste on the tongue that you get from that. So I think a taste the copper marketing campaign is on the cards for that. And I'll take a couple of bottles in credit for that. Good job.
Thanks,
well
Nigel.
done.
Thanks, Nigel. and I'd encourage people to try it with a spot of water when they get to the end of their glass as well, because lots of people comment on how water makes a difference. Again, everyone's palate's different, but no, that's great feedback, Nigel. Thanks.
Paul, it's terrible. It's awful.
Sorry.
I certainly won't be having any more. No.
Send me yours, Mitch. I'll get rid of it.
Do you know what? I think this probably sounds quite weird, but it tastes like it's been around forever. It's an absolutely like stunning Islay dram. It really is.
No, thanks for that. That's nice. And every time I'm involved in a whiskey tasting, I always pick up a couple of nuggets from people about their tasting notes or that. Ardnahoe has been around forever. I'm stealing that from you. Sorry, Mitch. Brilliant.
Paul, if I could quickly say something, I'm here on a whiskey journey because my mum was an Islay girl and she left that book, Smoke, Peat and Fire, when she passed away with some tasting notes in it. She'd love this. Kylian Mbappe turned up in Qatar as an 18-year-old. And everyone said, yeah, might be good. Anyway, he won the World Cup. What's this going to be like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time? This is, wow. What a start.
Yeah. What was your mum's name, Kevin?
Joan Boyce. So.
Yeah. So two things I would say there is that, firstly, and I'll come back to your mum later, when you think back to 8 or 9 years ago when we're putting the concrete in at Ardnahoe, there was no 3, 4, 5-year-old whiskies getting released at that time, or very few single malts. And as we've got closer to the 10th of May when we released this whiskey, in the last 6 months, I'm thinking, wow, the market's completely different now. You've got Ardnamurchan, you've got Loch Lee, you've got Lag, you've got a whole range of Rasa, you've got Lindors, you've got a whole range of really, really, really good brand new distilleries making fantastic whiskies, and every time you try them you think, oh, that's great at 4 and 5-year-old, I can't wait till it's 8 and 10 and 12 and 15. So Ardnahoe is now having to land in a market that didn't exist when the architect did the drawings for the distillery and we did all the drawings for the pipework and stuff. So it's great to see it landing so well, and actually I think there's a real good fashion now for young whiskies. As much as we've had a great 31-year-old Dufftown and 21-year-old Pulteney tonight, actually there's some brilliant 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old whiskies out there just now. And I love that story about your mother. So if folk don't mind me abusing my privilege, let's have a toast to Joan. Cheers.
And you.
Anyone get any more comments on the Ardnahoe for Paul to to steal and use in the future?
Just say, Victor, it doesn't. Some of the new ones, to be fair, taste like young whiskies, and I don't think this does.
I agree.
It doesn't have that sort of. Sometimes you think they're nice, but they've got a little bit of sort of youthful feistiness to them, if I'm being complimentary. But that's not. It drinks like a much older, well, I'm not saying a much older, but an older whiskey. It's really nice. And I almost don't want to drink it because I just want to, the smell is just fantastic. The smell is amazing.
Buy a bottle.
I love it. And if I went back to the Ardmore afterwards, and and you're just thinking, well, like you can push that out of the way because the nose on it is just is amazing.
Phil's got a good point there. I'm quite critical of new distilleries, and there's only a couple that really cut it, in producing a reasonably sophisticated spirit that's not obviously too young yet. And you are in there with it. And I'd say that Ardnamore's been my push for new distilleries, and by new I mean anything after Kilkerran and Glengyle. So Ardnamore's always been up there. And Bimber's been quite good as well. But I think you're going to give Ardmore a bloody good run for the money and probably be more popular because you've got the Ila sticker on it. And that will sell a lot as well.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, Nigel, because Fraser Hughes, our distillery manager, we stole him from Ardmore. So
that's what he's doing, doesn't he?
He knows what he's doing. So he's an Ila boy. Him and his wife both originate from Ila. But I was there. I was on Ila the day he was interviewed actually for the job. I had nothing to do with it. No claiming any credit at all. But I was there the day that he came down from Ardmore back to Ila and was interviewed for the job. And I remember it very well, actually, just that was the moment, no big announcement that the distillery manager was recruited. So at that point, I knew nothing about Fraser other than the fact that he worked at Ardnamore. Now, at that point, Ardnamore, and my memory might be mistaken, was maybe 2 years old. I don't think they had released their first single malt yet. So at that moment in time, I didn't know what Ardnamore was like. Nobody did. And as years have progressed and we've been on the journey of Ardnahoe, and you start tasting Ardnamore, and you think, oh, this boy Fraser Hughes knows what he's doing. No, exactly what you're saying, Nigel. So that's good. And I appreciate the comment about the price point, Nigel, as well. Very, very few raised eyebrows about it. The price point's been subject to a lot of chat, if I was being perfectly honest, but at the final analysis, it seems quite well received. We're doing a fish ale bottle next week. Next Wednesday's our day. I think it's not been announced publicly, but by the time you share this recording, Victor, everybody will know about it. I think there's less than 800 bottles. They'll all be sold at the distillery on the day. So no, if you're not on Ila on that day, you won't get them. But I think the price points, forgive me if I get this wrong, but I think we're doing it for £85. So you can argue up and down whether £85 is a good point. My view is, for a brand new distillery, their first ever fish ale bottling, obviously it's more than 3 years old. I'm not quite sure of the age of it, if I've been perfectly honest. It's only 2 or 3 casks put together. £85 seems like a decent price point. I think I think it'll fly off the shelves and next Wednesday. So and just on that subject, I know, Victor, you might want to go around to another couple of people, which would be great. But the next release of Ardnahoe, the Ardnahoe that you're tasting today, this is the inaugural release. This won't be a core release. The next release we do will be a core release. So that'll be, we'll probably do 2 more releases between now and 2025. The next one will be a core release for sure. And after that, we'll see. But the next core release will be as accessible as this in terms of the number of bottles that we do. So we bit of insight.
Are you planning anything batch strengthy?
Yeah, so there'll be lots of opportunities for Cask strength, batch strength, call it what you will. Single cask, potentially. I think the first single cask will probably come from Ardnahoe rather than from a private investor, a private owner, is my strong suspicion. Could be wrong. But we've also got bottles, we've also got whiskey maturing in 2 different types of sherry, 2 different types of brandy. We've got Madeira, we've got port, we've got quarter cask, we've got octaves. So there's all sorts of kind of a wee bit of research and development experimentation going on in the background just now, and how that'll manifest itself in the future, I think will be interesting. But my own personal view, and I'm biased and I accept that, but I recognise the feedback here tonight and over the last couple of weeks since we released it. If that's the first release, it's promising. No, I'm like many of you here. If that's what 5-year-old tastes like, what's the 8 and the 10 and the 12 going to be like? It really kind of intrigues me to get on that journey as well.
I think what excites me, Paul, was that if you compare it to, say, like Wee Beastie or something like that, I think this is better. I think it's good to compare yourself to other new distilleries, but to the established distilleries and the kind of ages that they put out, I think this knocks some of them out the park.
Yeah, I completely agree with that analysis, Steve, in terms of the comparison. So when during the journey of Ardnahoe maturing for 5 years, Wee Beastie came out. And I'm a fan of Wee Beastie. I think it's a great whiskey. The price point's really good. I don't think I've got a bottle here, but I normally do. The other one that I think was interesting coming out with a 5-year-old age statement was the Mico Tor range from Glenallachie. I think I've got a couple of bottles over there. And again, great price point. Very good whiskey. Billy Walker's got his name on it. What do you expect? So it's great to hear feedback like that from yourself when we're measuring against distilleries that have been running for 200 years or kind of 170 years. So thanks for that.
And I think I tasted it the other night for the first time, and my first thought wasn't Caol Ila, it was Ardbeg.
All right. That's
not as medicinal as Ardbeg, but and Ardbeg's my favourite. I was like, oh wow, that's great. That was my first thought.
For me, the reason I compare it to Caol Ila, it's the fruit notes that are similar to Caol Ila rather than the smoke or the peat. But it's mostly about that, the sequencing of it. It's like smoke in the nose, and then it's fruit and peat in the palate, as opposed to peat then fruit. So I'm sure if the family or the marketing people heard about my description of it, or Fraser Hughes, they would balk at it. But it's just my experience of it.
I would just before we continue, I'm gonna just close the recording, and then we can, if you want to stay on, have a further chat. That might be more fun, and you can get into gear properly, Paul. So listen, thanks very much for spending your evening with us. Great set of whiskies. We'll put this up on YouTube in the morning. But for now, thanks very much, Paul.
You're welcome. Love